So I actually really never planned on building a live show. It wasn't really until I saw what some of the stuff could do that I fully realized that this was probably going to be the best idea I ever did. I was really happy DJing. I was touring around. I was playing some of my dream venues. But once I really figured out, oh, okay, I can build a whole show with this with just one person, and I don't need to tour with a big crew of people to really pull off a show that I thought was super dope. That's when I fully dove in. And this was sort of what we landed on.
So this is my channel 303 live setup. The brains of the whole operation is the Ableton Push, where I started with this. This was the first piece of gear that I got, started building out the set. And then I got this APC40. Actually, it was my buddy Luke that lent it to me. And so what I have is over here's all the music. So this is the vocals and the synths and the effects. And then over here's all the drums. So I can cut the drums in and out at any point. I can trigger different drums at any point. So that's the bulk of it. And then I have the two synths. I have the Sub 37 that I'm using throughout the track, and then another MIDI controller, because sometimes I'll play both at the same time. And then this thing, this is a super fun little piece of gear that I have connected, that I just have some filters, I have some effects that are vocal throws and reverbs, I have some risers that are triggered, I have a dub siren, some claps, and then all of this and the 303 for the acid all runs through this Korg Koass pad that my manager Todd hooked me up with. And this is an old school piece of gear that you can do some crazy distortions and some filtering, whatnot. So all of that runs into this, and then this actually all runs into the Sub 37. So I can even use the filter on the Sub 37 to control the TD-3, the Behringer 303 copy. And all of that then runs into my sound card where I'm running an Ableton set. Now, what's really cool in Ableton is I have a channel here that has a Max for Live device that basically, as I'm going through all of the scenes in Ableton, it triggers a corresponding scene in Resolume, the VJ software. So as I work through the set in Ableton, it's just working through all the video clips. Now in Resolume, I also have some webcam set up. So I have a webcam here, and then I have the webcam on my laptop, and then it's kind of a mess right now, but I have a phone set up over there. So I have three webcams that are kind of coming in, and then I have two different outputs going out of Resolume. One that's going to all the TVs, and then another one that's going up to the dome. So all the video content I actually had made, I made a version of the audio set first that was about sort of 40 minutes long. I brought it into Premiere and I made sort of a 40-minute long visual mix, and then I exported each one of those clips based on, you know, the loops in this Ableton session so that they were the same length. Now Resolume actually can link to Ableton so that as you change the BPM and change the tempo, it'll change the frame rate of the video as well. So everything, as I play this, it's all triggering the video live, and I can play things in whatever order I want, and it's always going to have the video all synced up. Same with the dome on top, it all works together. And then the last thing that I added in was the lighting, and I'm using a program here called LightKey, that is a DMX controller. I bought one of these. It's an Enttec Open DMX that's USB to DMX. And this was the easiest part to set up, because what you can do is you just have a MIDI track in Ableton, and each MIDI note in that corresponds to a different lighting scene. And so if you want it to strobe, then you hit one MIDI note. If you want it to be all red, you hit another MIDI note. So I just programmed all that, so as I'm triggering these scenes, it's also just triggering the lighting. And no, it looks complex, but it all was pretty straightforward. The hardest bit about all of this was sourcing the gear and the TVs and all the analog stuff. If you come around here, you can see that the mess of cabling, it's a disaster, but it's because every TV needs to go from the HDMI and then into a converter that goes HDMI into composite, and then from composite to coaxial. So that you need a couple different adapter boxes to go from HDMI to some of these older TVs. And then I also bought a 2x2 video wall that allows, you know, I can create a whole video wall out of all of these, which is basically just like an HDMI splitter. But that's the bulk of it. That's the whole setup. It was fun sourcing a bunch of these TVs. Big shout out to this guy Graham on Facebook Marketplace, who when I showed up at his house, he had an entire garage full of TVs. He hooked me up with a bunch of these. So shout out Graham, appreciate you. Yeah, that's that.